Imagine struggling to meet basic household needs such as food, shelter, clothing, and transportation, even when you have a full-time job. This is the harsh reality that a lot of Nigerians are facing today. Nigerians who have been pushed below the poverty line. Poverty in Nigeria is a complex issue, being made worse by economic challenges. In this video, we're going to explore the key factors responsible for pushing majority of Nigerians today below the poverty line. This is Discourse under Azubuike. The World Bank recently announced Nigeria as the country with the largest proportion of its citizens living in poverty. This pronouncement was made based on a concept that it uses to evaluate the financial well-being or the economic well-being of citizens of different countries of the world. It's known as the poverty line. The World Bank defines the poverty line as an income level at which a person can purchase goods and services that are necessary to meet their basic needs. This amount essentially varies from country to country, even from state to state. We have the international poverty line that institutions like the World Bank set, but we also have local poverty lines that countries themselves set to be able to use to evaluate their own economic progress and support citizens who are below their own local poverty lines. The World Bank set the poverty line in Nigeria in 2020 at $1.90. So that means you have to live on up to $1.90 to be able to provide your basic needs if you live in Nigeria in 2020. Since we don't earn in dollars, what does this translate to in Naira? As at 2020, a dollar went for an average of 380 Naira. If you convert it to Naira, it means a person has to be able to earn 722 Naira per day, every day, to be able to meet their needs in 2020. Today, with the current exchange rate of 1,700, you have to earn 3,230 in a day to be able to live above the poverty line. So if you look at it in that sense, between 2020 and now, we're talking about 4 years. In that time, somebody who was supposed to be able to earn 700 plus every day, it's now expected to earn 3,230 within the same 24-hour period to live below the poverty line. Now, this explanation is just based on our exchange rate alone. So we're trying to explore the effect that the exchange rate has on the position of a person relative to the poverty line here in Nigeria. While the exchange rate has gone up astronomically within the last 4 years, the income of average Nigerians has not. Even the minimum wage that has been recently increased is about 70-something thousand or 70,000. To even live above the poverty line for Nigeria today, based on our exchange rate, is set at 96,900. So what that means is that if you earn anything less than 100,000 in a month, you're considered to be living in poverty. Because we rely on a lot of imported goods. Even the locally produced goods are produced using imported petroleum products. Now, when you import petroleum products at those high costs because of the exchange rates, it raises your production cost here in Nigeria. So it doesn't only make imported goods more expensive, it also makes locally made goods more expensive because those locally made goods were produced using imported petroleum products, which are bought at those exorbitant rates because of our exchange rate. So the weakness of our currency reduces our purchasing power. It makes it more difficult for us to buy the same goods that we could afford 4 years ago when the dollar was 380 Naira to $1. If you want to do commercial farming in Nigeria and you require tractors, those tractors also have to run on diesel. So it will inevitably raise the overhead cost of farming, and that will lead to higher prices of goods that are grown even in Nigerian farms. When you farm with hoes and knives, the cost it will take you to transport your goods from your farm to the market have also risen astronomically. What the farmers will do is also to pass that on to the consumers. So if you put all these factors together, your house rent goes up, your children's school fees go up, the amount of money you need to purchase things in the market go up. Essentially, all your expenditures go up. But within the last 4 years, how much has their income gone up, especially people that earn salaries. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment and subscribe to this channel, like this video, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you hit that notification bell whenever videos are released, you'll be informed. If you look within the past 4 years, increase has been minimal in terms of how much we get in a month, whereas expenditure has been astronomical. The result of this is that a lot of Nigerians who before now have been on decent wages have now been pushed below the poverty line and are now classed as part of those Nigerians who now basically live in poverty. The other factor which we'll discuss, which has also impacted severely in the proportion of Nigerians that are today considered to be living in poverty, is the removal of fuel subsidy. It's linked to the exchange rate, but in a unique way. Before this time, Nigerians were buying fuel at prices controlled by our government. The way our government controlled these prices is that as international fuel prices fluctuated, they were able to use government funds derived from oil sales to cover the gap so that our citizens could buy petroleum products at regulated prices. That made it possible for people to get goods and services at lower rates, because international prices did not affect our local markets within these periods that we had petroleum subsidy. Now, whatever fluctuates in the international market, we were immune to it because of fuel subsidy. But subsidy on petroleum products had their own issues. A lot of corruption crept in, a lot of inflation within that system. People began to inflate prices. People began to generate purchase orders that never existed. There was a lot of things that happened. Suddenly, Nigerians started to consume 90,000 barrels of petrol in a day. And then the government thought we wouldn't be able to sustain this system anymore. They decided to remove petrol subsidy. When they removed petrol subsidy, Nigeria's petrol consumption had a 92% decline. 92% decline. It just tells you the impact that corruption has made in that sector. By removing subsidy on petroleum products, we now became vulnerable to the fluctuations that occurred in the international market. There's a third part to this discussion, and that's the floating of the exchange rate. Government used to use money from the foreign reserve to buffer up our foreign exchange. So we have our foreign exchange not being stabilized by the government. We have oil prices not being stabilized by the government. And then we have goods being imported. Those are the real factors that have contributed in pushing majority of Nigerians into poverty. If Nigeria was a very vibrant producing country, subsidy and controlling our forex rates would have been things that would have boosted our competitiveness in the international markets. They would have made our goods cheaper, our exports cheaper. And you will see international agencies telling Nigeria, no, you can't do this anymore because it's affecting competition, so you have to remove this. But they didn't bother because it wasn't impacting on the international financial system in our favor. The human cost is that a lot of Nigerians now are struggling to meet their basic needs. It's becoming difficult to send kids to school on a daily basis. It's becoming difficult to even drive your cars to work on a daily basis. We need to begin to produce more in Nigeria to transform ourselves from a consuming economy to a producing economy. If our economy becomes stronger, our exchange rates will begin to come down. When that happens, prices of foreign goods that we import will also come down. We have a relatively young population. We have a very educated population. This is the most important gift that Nigeria has. This is the most important part that forms the potential that Nigeria has. The other is that we have a lot of natural resources. If we combine our human and natural resources, we can rise up as a giant. Let us do our part to make our country great. This is Discourse on Azubuike.